It's an open investigation, but it is being investigated as a homicide.
Colin Strickland has just learned that his ex-girlfriend, Anna Wilson, was brutally murdered only hours ago. When Colin Strickland first arrived at the gruesome scene, investigators initially suspected a robbery gone wrong. But as evidence began to surface, it pointed to something far more disturbing. A meticulously planned murder driven by a deadly love triangle, with the killer shockingly closer than anyone could have expected.
Did you kill Mel?
No.
On May 11, 2022, police responded to a residence after a woman made a chilling 911 call.
What's the address of the emergency?
It's 1708 Maple Avenue.
Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
My friend is staying with me, and I just walked in, and she's laying on the bathroom floor, and there's blood everywhere, and I don't know what happened.
Is she awake?
She's not awake. There's blood all over her face
Caitlin.
and all on the back of her head.
Is she breathing?
No, she's not
Okay.
breathing.
I've got the paramedics on the way to help you. Stay on the line, Caitlin.
The caller was Caitlin Cash, who had just come home to find her friend Mariah Wilson barely alive after being shot. After examining the scene, officers observed cerebrospinal fluid leaking onto the floor, a clear sign that the bullets had penetrated Mariah's skull, killing her instantly. There was nothing anyone could have done to save her, but her killer could still be brought to justice. And for that, police turned to the only witness they had at the time, Caitlin Cash. At this stage, police were still uncertain about what had unfolded just hours earlier. But that was about to change thanks to a piece of evidence that would completely turn the case upside down.
Do you know if he's talking to anyone or any friends? I know you say you don't live here.
Yeah, there she was with her friend Colin. Colin Strickland.
Did you see a gun or anything like that when you were in?
A bullet piece.
Or I can give you his phone number. Information from you.
According to Caitlin Cash, Mariah had spent the entire day with her ex-boyfriend Colin and had only been home for a few minutes before she was found dead. This immediately made Colin a key person of interest, someone police intended to question later. But for now, there were more pressing concerns. Mariah was in town for a bike race and had brought along a high-end racing bike valued at $114,000, which raised the possibility of theft. When officers discovered the bike was missing, a new theory emerged. Someone may have been waiting for Mariah to return home alone, attempted to steal the bike and killed her when she resisted. With this being their strongest lead, investigators knew they had to find the missing bike, which might lead them straight to the killer. Finding no trace of the bike inside the house, officers widened their search to the nearby woods. However, what they uncovered there made it clear that they had been following the wrong lead all along, leaving them with no answers and even more questions. Since the bike was discovered abandoned nearby, officers began to suspect that it had been intentionally placed there as a distraction to throw off the investigation.
That's her bike cover, yeah.
So where did the bike go?
Probably there.
Did she keep the bike in the garage or where did she keep the bike at?
So if you right this first unit right here, this is her and these are her lengths. So
this bike cover is the
big, yeah.
So where would her bike be at?
Where would she keep her bike?
I mean, it would be right inside the door. Yeah.
Is her bike's inside the door? Is there a bike? Anywhere? You see a bike? She said she would put it right by the door. No bike. That's negative, Jobs.
If the killer was smart enough to mislead police, they were likely already taking steps to cover their tracks.
Hey, come here. Somebody might be in here. This might be the bike, okay? But hold on. Somebody might be in here.
Henry, hold on.
Henry, hang on.
Okay. All right. Over there. At 432, I located the bike.
That's why investigators moved quickly to gather evidence from the scene, starting with one of the most critical pieces, the bullet shell casings. The shell casings could help police identify the weapon used in the shooting, but they still needed to find the gun and the person who pulled the trigger. Initially, investigators considered Caitlin Cash a possible suspect, which led them to bring her to the station for a crucial test that would help determine whether she was truly innocent.
So, let me tell you this up front. By no means in the world do I think that you did any of this, okay? But so what they're gonna do, we're just gonna have them swab your hands for gunshot residue. If we don't do this to you, then in court they can say, oh, what about this other person? Why didn't you do this part of the investigation?
A gunshot residue test on Caitlin Cash's hands came back negative. Given that Mariah was shot in a confined area of the home, officers concluded that Caitlin couldn't have been the shooter. However, she did offer a vital lead. The last person seen with Mariah was her ex-boyfriend Colin Strickland. After digging deeper, police discovered that the two had been at a nearby cafe for drinks, unaware it would be the last time they saw each other.
This is the same black Jeep that officers saw on cameras parked right outside Colin's home.
Hey, so Colin? Yes. Hey, so do you know Anna? Mo. Anna Mo. Yeah. Everybody calls her Mo. Last name is Wilson. Rider. She's a gravel rider. Yes, I do. Okay. So, there's really no reason to say this, sir. So, apparently, last night she passed away. How did? Yeah. Right now it's an open investigation, but it is being investigated as a homicide.
This made Colin a key figure who might be able to clarify what happened in the hours leading up to the murder. But before bringing him in for questioning, investigators shifted their focus to the neighborhood's surveillance footage. Several nearby homes had CCTV cameras, and what they found on the recordings was especially intriguing. CCTV footage showed a black Jeep heading directly toward Caitlin Cash's home, where Mariah was staying that night. As the vehicle approached, Ring cameras captured a chilling snippet of audio. Immediately after the shooting, the killer fled the scene. Although this marked a significant breakthrough, there was one major issue: officers had no way to identify the driver. The footage was too grainy, and the vehicle was too distant to reveal a clear image of the driver or the license plate. However, just a few days later, as investigators prepared to question Mariah's ex-boyfriend Colin Strickland, they uncovered something incredibly intriguing. It was the very same black Jeep captured in the surveillance footage, now parked right outside Colin Strickland's home. By now, police knew Colin Strickland was the last person to see Mariah alive. They had also discovered a vehicle in his driveway that perfectly matched the one seen in the surveillance footage, even the bike rack on the back. Colin had just become their prime suspect, though he had no idea, as investigators continued questioning him. Following protocol, officers didn't reveal the details of Mariah's death while questioning Colin. However, his nervous behavior raised red flags. To learn more, investigators began examining his relationship with Mariah. Soon, investigators uncovered the presence of Caitlin Armstrong, Colin's girlfriend. During a brief breakup in 2021, Colin had a romantic fling with Mariah and continued to stay in contact with her even after reconciling with Caitlin. Suspicions deepened when police discovered that the black Jeep seen at the crime scene was registered to Caitlin. With a potential motive coming to light, Colin was brought in once again, this time to verify his alibi and possibly implicate Caitlin. Colin was subsequently brought in for a second interview as the investigation continued.
And you said that y'all left around like 6:30 to.
I don't think that's accurate because we must have left Uber at about 7:45 or even later, probably maybe more like 8.
Yeah.
Just as it was getting dark.
Okay.
Because we went straight to her place and it wasn't dark yet, but it was.
I got you.
It was cooling off and it was like also an evening.
Okay. Well, what about whenever y'all were at the bar? Was there anybody that was like watching y'all, or I guess was acting weird with Mo, or
Mo didn't know. She doesn't live here, so no, not at all.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Anybody that did like try to hit on her at the bar or anything, or
no?
Okay.
No, not that I saw. Nor that she mentioned. I didn't notice anything out of the ordinary, to be honest, at the bar.
Police weren't only interested in Colin's time with Mariah, they also wanted answers about why the black vehicle from the crime scene was parked at his home. Colin admitted to speaking with Caitlin the night of the murder, but couldn't confirm her location or recall the name of her yoga studio. He also concealed his past with Mariah, but that wouldn't stay hidden for long. After interviewing Colin, the police were able to verify his alibi and collect important information about Caitlin. Among the three, Colin, Cash, and Caitlin, only Caitlin's whereabouts remained unaccounted for. With no solid evidence to hold her on, Officers discovered Caitlin had a minor warrant, just enough to bring her in for questioning about Mariah's murder.
All right, so I'm Detective Connor, and so my partner is actually talking to Colin right now. So I wanted to come in here and start chatting with you and everything, so you don't have to wait super long. So it sounds like you may have some information, may have witnessed something, so I just wanted to chat with you about some stuff. But you're here for a warrant right now, I guess. Are you familiar with what you have going on with that?
No idea.
Okay, so I guess it was like a theft of service warrant, something kind of minor. Nothing. Okay. So that's why you're here. You got a theft of service warrant. That's why you got picked up today and everything. So I was just letting you know on that part.
The detective remains calm to avoid tipping Caitlin off that she's a suspect, yet she still seems tense and visibly uneasy. The officer sidesteps Caitlin's questions about the warrant, choosing instead to focus on Mariah's murder, a risky approach, especially as Caitlin begins inquiring about legal representation.
Tell me what it was that was the theft of service?
I can look. I'm not sure what it is at this point, but I can look that up later and get you a little bit more information on that for sure. But because you are here and because you were under arrest for that portion of it, we always have to read Miranda and stuff because I want to talk to you about some other stuff that's unrelated to that.
Although police have Caitlin exactly where they want her, one small misstep is about to let a suspected killer slip through their fingers. She's on the verge of crossing a legal boundary to get information from Caitlin, a decision that could carry serious consequences. Then Caitlin's confronted prosecutor replied,
If I have an existing warrant and you don't know what it's about, do I need an attorney here?
So the warrant is just a Class B, just theft of service type thing. The reason I'm here is because your name came up during a conversation with Colin. I think there's a lot more information that you have that can kind of explain some of the stuff he's saying. But to be able to do that, I have to read you your rights, just so that you know and you're protected and things like that, okay?
Okay, and so if you're reading me my rights, then I should
That's because of the warrant, because you're under arrest for the warrant. So you're technically in custody because of that warrant. So they're two separate things. Does that make sense?
I think so, but I have never heard.
At this point, it's clear Caitlin won't speak voluntarily. She knows she can leave at any time.
So that's what they were just knocking on the door is apparently that warrant, the date of birth was wrong. So it had your name, but the date of birth is wrong. So it's to a different person. So that's not, you're not under arrest, okay?
So the detective presents their strongest piece of evidence, hoping the pressure will make her crack.
I would love to leave.
You would love to
just
leave.
arrested me in front of my house, in front of all of my neighbors, and carried me in here in handcuffs in front of downtown Austin. It was incredibly
I can only imagine. Yeah. And I'm so sorry. I don't have control over that part. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not upset with you.
So there's a situation that's going on. Did you hear about what's happened over the past 24 hours?
Colin walked in the house and said one of the women in the cycling community passed away.
Yes. Yeah. While Colin was talking to us, your name came up. And so that's where I would really like to talk to you because it sounds like there were some issues between you and this girl, and I think that there's probably a lot more to it that you could help explain.
Okay, I'm not sure exactly what you mean or what information you'd like.
So it sounds like maybe he went out with this girl the other day, and maybe it sounds like from what he's saying that you were a little upset about it. And so that's why I kind of wanted to get your side of it because that's not fair if he's just saying one thing and trying to go down a route, and I want to make sure that's not the case.
That is not accurate.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to chat with you because it's a guy. He's gonna say stuff, and so we want to make sure that we get both sides of the story and everything and clear it up. So what were you doing yesterday?
I would like to leave, I think.
You'd like to leave?
Yeah.
Okay. But understand if you do, then we only have one side of the story to go on.
Mm-hmm.
And from what we're hearing from Colin, you know, it's one side and
well, I just am uncertain as to even what you mean or what he could have said because I didn't have any idea that he saw or went out with this girl.
Okay, yeah.
Recently.
Has he been like talking to her on the side?
I don't actually know.
Unfortunately, despite growing suspicions, officers had no legal authority to prevent Caitlin from walking out. If Caitlin had been planning Mariah's murder, Colin was about to unknowingly confirm that he never saw it coming. In a cruel twist, Colin had bought Caitlin a gun for self-defense, later found to match the bullet caliber at Mariah's murder scene. As evidence mounted, Caitlin emerged as the prime suspect, while Colin was fully cleared. Cell data and surveillance showed Colin and Mariah at Poolburger around 7 p.m. on May 11. Caitlin, who turned off her phone to hide her movements, was still caught on camera. Her black Jeep was seen near Mariah's home just as Colin dropped her off. Minutes later, a doorbell cam recorded Mariah's screams, then gunshots. As the evidence piled up, it became clear Caitlin was the only possible suspect in Mariah's murder. But by the time officers moved in to arrest her, she had already fled the country, using a fake passport in her sister's name to avoid detection. A warrant for Caitlin's Gmail account revealed she had booked a one-way flight to Costa Rica. Investigators later discovered she was staying at a hostel in Santa Teresa Beach and working as a yoga instructor. Caitlin had undergone several cosmetic procedures to alter her appearance, but it wasn't enough an officer recognized her by her eyes. She was arrested and flown back to the U.S., where she was charged with murder. If Caitlin's repeated efforts to evade justice and use of false documents didn't convince the jury, the surveillance footage, Colin Strickland's testimony, and most crucially, the ballistic evidence linking her gun to the shell casings at the scene certainly did. As a result, on November 16, 2023, a year and a half later, Caitlin was found guilty of murder. She was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to 90 years in prison for the cold-blooded killing of Mariah Wilson, bringing long-awaited closure to a case that had devastated those closest to the victim and shocked the public.